We need to talk about scales. If you want to get good at piano, you need to practice your scales, and you need to practice them a lot. Legendary martial artist Bruce Lee says, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." Scales are kind of the same way. Personally, I had been neglecting my scales a little bit and wanted to get back into it, and I was getting frustrated. Fortunately, I'm friends with a piano professor, and I asked him to share some pro practice strategies to help us practice our scales better and have more fun doing it. Here's piano professor Dr. Ryan Kelly.
Thanks, Jacob. So let's go ahead. I'm going to tell you a story first about my experience with scales. I started learning some scales in high school from my teacher, Bijan, who taught me scales. He's one of my best friends. I still see him every week. And as I was getting closer to college, I looked at the application and what was required and saw that they wanted all major and minor scales, 4 octaves, and I had to learn all of that. And I didn't really know it. So I remember cramming and being so stressed. The day of the audition came, and I think they asked for E major and E minor. They could choose any of them. And E minor is kind of an awkward one that is difficult, but I did okay. But I was just like, wow, how did I get this far in my journey without knowing that? Now that I look back, as I'm a teacher, I look back and think about that. I'm like, how did I get so far? So scales are super important for a variety of reasons. One thing I really like about scales is it kind of has a twofold thing that it helps you with. It helps you understand music theory. And this is something that a lot of people don't think about in relationship to scales. They think of scales as something physical, and it is something physical. That's the second thing. But what I really like about it is it will help you understand how music works. And even students who don't want to be virtuosos, but just want to compose or understand music, I will have them learn scales so they understand how keys work, how key signatures work, sharps and flats. All that stuff is super important. After that, in college, I started practicing my scales. And I used to try and go through all of them every single day. So now let's get into kind of some of the tactical and tips of it. I used to go through all of them every day. It took a while. I mean, I was practicing 4 or 5 hours a day. Most of you probably aren't doing that. This is a hobby or something that you do. But you're probably wondering, how much should scales play a part in your playing? How often should you do it? How much should you do it? And I always recommend probably starting with about 20% of your practice to something like physical and theory-wise like scales. And so what I mean is, if you are playing for 100 minutes, 20 of those minutes should be playing scales or something like that. I think that numbers will get kind of shorter as you go up. If you're practicing 5 hours a day, you're probably not going to do a whole hour of scales. Probably doesn't make sense. Probably 20 to 30 minutes on this max. But I do recommend that you spend at least 5 minutes doing this as you're playing. You don't have to do it right away. That's kind of like a goal. If you're playing songs, if you're using our method, piano by pictures method, we don't actually teach scales for a while. But if you're serious and really want to learn piano, scales are important. So let me tell you about the switch I made in college. So I had a teacher, and he's like, "How are you doing with your scales?" And I was like, I'm practicing them every day. He's like, "All of them?" And I was like, "Yeah, all of them every day." And he's like, No. Don't practice all of them every day. What you want to do is you want to go deep on certain scales every single day. So this is pretty advanced, but so when I played in college, I learned 4 scales. That's kind of the standard. I used to play a little faster than that, but had to in college. But anyway, that's kind of the standard, is 4 octaves up and down. Then you want to do it in a minor key. So here's C minor. All right, so I've done C major and C minor. And now, instead of going on to G or going on to that, I'm going to play C major again, but I'm going to do it in a lot of different ways. This is going to be probably too advanced for some of you, but if you're curious about a scale technique of a professional pianist, here it is. So instead of just playing octaves, I'll also sometimes play thirds. So the way that works is instead of starting on C and C, I'll start the scale on C and E. I'll play it slow so you can... Okay, so now I'm playing it in thirds. So I'm practicing C, but I'm practicing it in sort of a different way, right? I said thirds, I meant tenths. Those are tenths. Okay, so now let's talk about another interval. So this is called interval practicing, right? And the scale has different fingerings and stuff like that. You definitely want to, most of you are probably spending your time. And that is totally where you should spend your time. But I think this principle still applies. Go deep on 2 scales, even if you're doing just 1 octave. So some ways that you can do this is play that with a metronome, right? Now, can you play it in triplets? Da, 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 da. In fours? Can you play it in fifths? And I'm saying like fourths or fifths, I'm talking about the rhythm, and I'm putting stresses on a certain point of that. Those are just ways that you can actually practice the scales, even if they're in 1 octave. Another way that happens, and I got a funny story about this, is playing an inverted scale. So starting with both thumbs on C, and playing out, and playing in. And if I was practicing like I used to do several octaves like that. That's 2 octaves. I do 4 octaves. I do it major. I do it minor. So this is what I mean by going deep on a certain scale. And the funny story I have to tell about that is when I was dating my wife. She already had a 8-year-old daughter, and who's now 17. And that's crazy to think, but she is. And when we were dating, she's like, "Oh, Brian's a professional pianist." And she's like, she was taking piano lessons, and she goes, "Can you play the sandwich scale?" And I was like, "Oh, what's the sandwich scale?" And she's like, "You don't even know the sandwich scale." And what she meant by the sandwich scale was this inverted, because it has something in the middle, right? It goes out and comes back, just like sandwiches have stuff in the middle. So anyway, that's a funny story I always like to tell. She thought I wasn't a real piano player because I didn't know what the sandwich scale is. So going deep on all these different keys as you go through them is a really good way to kind of think about it. So more about the professional pianist stuff. There's some like simple things that you can do. I don't want to make this too complicated, but want to keep it interesting as well. Is you can practice in 6. So you can practice in 6, go up and down, and then do all of those things in minor as well. The other thing you do in each of these keys are the arpeggios. Right? The chords of each thing. And that's what I'm talking about, where I'm talking about like how learning this stuff will also teach you the musicality of it. So you can do arpeggios along with your scale practice. But yeah, my suggestion, my schedule used to be I would do C and G on Monday, D and A on Tuesday, E and B on Wednesday, F sharp and C sharp on Thursday, A flat and E flat on Friday, and then F and B flat on Saturday. And that used to be my schedule that I would do. So I would go really, really deep on learning them. I wouldn't try and learn all of them at once. I think that is kind of the application for this for beginners is don't move on to the next scale until you're really comfortable. A lot of the C major fingering scales have the same fingering. And so you don't have to super overcomplicate it. Focus on the first scales, get them really good, get the fingering right. Make sure fingering is crucial in this. It's crucial when I'm teaching students and they're playing 1 octave and I'm like, no, you can't use that finger. They're like, but I played it, it's fine. It's because when you start doing this fast stuff in multiple octaves, later on in your piano playing career, it won't work so well. So start slow, make sure you use the right fingering. The other thing is practice slow. So I'm going like super fast up and down the piano, but that's only because I spent a lot of time playing very, very slow to get the muscle memory of the scales and the fingerings in my system. So that is what I tell you. I tell you to practice, don't try to do too many scales at once. Practice really, really slow and make sure your fingering is correct. And you will become a scale master and master music theory on the piano, and all your wildest piano playing dreams will come true.
Thanks so much for sticking around to the end of the video. I hope you found this as helpful as I did. If you did find this helpful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our new weekly lesson videos. If you want to learn how to play your favorite songs and play them fast, click the link in the description to check out our free book offer and our online courses. But most of all, enjoy playing.